Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. It's me, Rob Marsiglio, sales representative with Keller Williams Referred Urban, and thank you so much for tuning in for another week of Greater Toronto Area real estate stats updates. We're in the middle of June. That means it should be kind of the busiest time of the year in GTA real estate. This year has been super busy from some perspectives and super quiet, historically quiet from other perspectives. I'm going to jump into 5 charts today just to show you how this June stacks up halfway through the month, the average and median June, as well as kind of the most extreme June going back to 2008. On top of that, I'm also going to give you a little update as to what is happening with showing activity in the Greater Toronto Area. Showings had been tailing off. New listings had been spiking, especially post rate cut announcement, as we touched on last week's video. So a little bit more of an update for you on those numbers later in the video. But to start, I want to give you just an anecdote quickly about what I'm seeing in the market, how it's really a tale of many different markets depending on the price point that you are looking at. So I'm working with a few different buyers out here in Durham region, in the east end of Toronto, showing people out in the Pickering area as well. And really, it's a totally different story depending on where you are looking. So let's go to story number 1, which is in the east end of the city, working with a great young couple over there. Found a place that we love for them. We made an offer on that place on the offer day, one of 3 offers on the table, and we came in at our number, got a call from the listing agent. Hey Rob, you're in second place, but it's not even close. You know, he did his job. He didn't tell me any specifics about the other offer, but he said, you're not losing this by $10,000 or $20,000. So, you know, I told my buyers, great try. I know we can improve a little bit, but it doesn't sound like we are going to be kind of competing with this top offer. Kind of knew what the value of this property was. We've been looking in the area for a little bit of time. Again, we had a solid understanding, but it all came down to just waiting to see what that winning bid was. And we were blown away. We lost by almost $300,000. Again, second place out of 3. The winning offer was $300,000 almost more than our offer. And like we're talking at this price point, that's about a 15 or 20% improvement over the offer that we made. So that's one story. You know, all it takes is that one buyer. And if you run up against that buzzsaw as a buyer, I don't really know what to tell you. That's just bad luck. Story number 2 is another buyer that I have out in Durham region. We're looking, you know, we offered on a couple places this past week. One of them had 6 offers on the property. The other had 9 offers on that property. But those 2 properties actually sold conditionally. We're still waiting to see what those properties actually sold for relative to what we offered. But I guess my story here is that as a buyer, don't get freaked out by the number of offers that you are up against. I always tell my buyers, pretend like you're the only one at the table making an offer. Get the conditions in that you need to protect yourself, especially in this market, because you know more and more people are getting those conditions of finance, those conditions of inspection included in the offers that are accepted. Story number 3. This is a small win for us. We are still sold conditional here, but it's another great young couple that I'm working with. This property is only on the market for 3 days, looking at offers anytime. We actually got it for under the ask price. Again, still conditional right now, but under the ask price with a finance condition and an inspection condition in there. So I think bottom line is, as a buyer, like I said, protect yourself. Really make sure you're including conditions in your offers to make sure that you are protected. If you're going to lose out, that's okay. We're seeing a ton of inventory come to market, which we'll touch on in this video today. There will be more opportunities this summer. I feel there will be more opportunities this fall. There will be more opportunities over the next year and a bit. If you're practicing patience, I think that's a great thing to be practicing in the market currently. All right, let's get into the numbers section of this video now. We're going to look at 5 different charts, looking at where we stand halfway through June, kind of projecting where we're going to end up this month compared to the average and median June going back to 2008, as well as kind of the extreme cases. How do we stack up against the most extreme Junes we've seen going back to 2008? The first one we're going to look at is new listings, and you can see that in 2024, the trend has been up and to the right. Usually we would expect to see new listings peak in May. Based on what I'm seeing, where we're at to this point of the month, you know, historically, how many homes are sold to this point of the month versus the end of the month, we're projected to be just over 19,000, about 19,200 new listings as reported by MarketWatch. So you can see that's a good 3,000 new listings more than we're used to seeing in June. And not only is it more than we're used to seeing, but it's also continuing this uptrend. We'd expect to see new listings start to roll over into June. But this year, again, probably a lot to do with that rate cut. People are bringing more and more properties to market. Now, even if we hit this 19,200 number, it's not quite as high as our previous high that we've seen, which was June of 2017, where we had 19,561 listings. Now, if you weren't active in the real estate market or not really paying attention at the time, maybe you just weren't interested at all, 2017 was a big correction year in Greater Toronto Area real estate, really starting in April. There was a big correction afterwards. So this 19,561 number for new listings, a lot of that had to do, with people trying to potentially rush to market to get those prices that they were seeing earlier in the year. Again, the most new listings we've seen in a June going back to 2008 was that number back in 2017. And the time just kind of echoes what we're seeing right now. People coming to market hoping for those probably big prices that we saw even in a little spring flurry through March of this year. The second trend we've been keeping an eye on is reported home sales. And we're on pace to have just over 6,400 reported sales according to TREB Market Watch criteria. So those property types in the areas that the TREB Market Watch covers. And you can see that it's significantly lower than the median and the average. Let's split the difference here and say we usually see about 9,000 sales reported. We're a good 2,600 sales shy of what we're used to seeing in a June. Again, you usually do see sales roll over from May to June. So we have seen that kind of steady decline from April through to June still, but much less sales volume than we're used to seeing for this time of year. The lowest reported sales we've seen on a TREB Market Watch was back in June of 2022, where there were 6,400 sales, kind of right about where we're on track to hit this year. Now, 2022 is not so long ago. We can remember that, June was really month 3 of the big correction. Sales had really hit the brakes after rate hikes started in March of that year. So again, we're right on track really to kind of line up nicely to that June of 2022 number. Now, here's one trend that's totally broken away from what we're used to seeing in a kind of normal average or median year is active listings. This is as of today, we're at 24,000 active listings. I wouldn't be surprised to see this number hit 24,000, maybe 25,000. Really on average since the beginning of April, we've been adding about 800 active listings per week to the total inventory across the GTA. And you can see that 24,000 number that we're at right now is a solid 4,000 to 5,000 more than we're used to seeing at this time of year in June. But it still does pale in comparison to the kind of most active listings that we've seen at the end of June. That was back in June of 2008. We peaked at over 28,000. This is actually the second highest total reported on a TREB Market Watch. October of that year saw slightly more listings. So we're not going to hit all-time highs in terms of active listings. But again, we are really creeping up there. We're seeing at least 14, 15-year highs in active listings. I'm the months of inventory guy, so it wouldn't be a video complete without touching on months of inventory. And again, this takes our active listings plus the sales that we reported 2 charts ago and spits this number. And again, you can see we have really broken away from trend. Market was tight relative to history in January and February, loosened up a bit in March, and then really months of inventory has been off to the races ever since. We're clocking in at 3.74, so this puts us really out of that seller's market territory by the technical definition. You're getting into balanced market territory, and it's a solid month and a half more of inventory than we're used to seeing for this time of year. And just to define this number, it means that what really right now the pace of the market is 1.5 months slower. It would take 1.5 months longer to sell out of all of our active inventory than it kind of usually would at this time of year. And this is a number that should set a record for June months of inventory. The previous high that we saw was in that big 28,000 active listing year of 2008. Months of inventory got up to 3.37. We're at 3.74. And again, the trend here has been that months of inventory has been creeping up. I wouldn't be surprised to see this number break or really get close to 4 months of inventory by the time this is all said and done. Months of inventory is one way that we judge the speed of the market. Another way is the sales to new listings ratio, or reported sales as a percentage of new listings. And that's on this chart right here. We've been really trending downwards this number, meaning that the market is becoming more favorable to buyers by this metric at least. Sales reported as a percentage of new listings is down at 33.4%. That is, 20% lower than we're used to seeing at this time of year. Let's call it 25% if you're using the average for June. This is a number that's on track to break the kind of record going back to 2008 for a June, according to the Market Watch. That's when we saw 39.1% sales as a percentage of new listings. This 33.4% number is much lower than that. And I wouldn't be surprised to see it trend even lower as the month goes on. Very quickly, just to get away from that format, we're going to compare what happened last year in the freehold market. I've shared this chart a couple times on YouTube and over on X. The condo market and the freehold market both really came to a head last April before slowing down into May, June, July. Again, a couple more rate hikes helped with that in June. This year, the trend has been largely downwards. On the freehold side, which is this black line, we've gone from about 57%, which is on the kind of seller side of balance territory, down to 35.4%-ish, which is down into buyer's territory. And, on the condo side of things, we saw the market tighten up slightly from January to March, but this fall off has been precipitous. We're down to 27% sales, percentage of new listings on the condo side across the Greater Toronto Area. So next time you do read some of these headlines talking about how the market is poised to jump, I'm really just not seeing it in the numbers right here. This could flip on a dime somehow by some miracle. I don't see that happening. I don't see anything that's indicating that that will happen. Like I said off the top in my little story time that I gave you today, practicing some patience I don't think is a bad strategy as a buyer in this market, and I do think that the numbers really do back it up. On the flip side of the coin, as a seller, you need to use these numbers as well when you're making your decision to sell. The prices that you are thinking about listing your properties at, offers that you're going to be getting, many of them will be conditional. You need to be a little bit more flexible if selling today for the current market value is something that you need to do. Okay, now to wrap things up, as we promised, let's get into what is happening with showing activity. A quick little recap there to wrap the video up. All right, red line is new listings, and we're looking at the right axis for this. You can see that the week starting June 9th, so that's June 9th to the 15th, we had just shy of 4,900 new listings in the GTA. According to Broker Bay, after we saw showing activity increase for a couple weeks straight, things did fall off slightly from the week starting June 2nd to the week starting June 9th. And when we put those two numbers all together on this chart, you can see that showings weekly per new listing is down below 10 for the first time this year. Showing activity is definitely slowing down and has been slowing down really all year in terms of that per new listing basis. So as a homeowner looking to sell, don't expect it to be a revolving door of people through your listing. If you're priced aggressively or priced properly, yes, you will see some activity, but we shouldn't be using showing activity that we're seeing in 2020, 2021, and early 2022 as a barometer to judge kind of how well it is showing. I hope you got some value out of the video this week, both stories off the top, as well as all the charts. I love those charts. If you enjoyed those charts, let me know in the comments below. Like I said, liking the video, subscribing to the channel greatly helps me reach more people like you, sharing this information with anybody interested in the Greater Toronto Area real estate market. Thanks so much for sticking with me through to the end of another video. Till we speak again next time, please stay safe and cheers.